I can't find my toy sonic screwdriver, so this ought to do for now. It can help me change my tires on my bike, so I guess that's something. Anyhow, oh boy, the newest season of Doctor Who. Okay, I haven't even finished last season as of yet. The 11th season, is that the 11th season? I think it's the 11th season. I believe so. The one with spiders in Great Britain and the Rosa Parks episode, which was pretty good, but you could have just at the end gone with like a instrumental version of whatever song was playing, because having someone sing like this over it kind of destroys the whole mood. You know, you don't need words to describe it. Everybody knows what to feel at this moment. Anyhow, that's not the point. The point is the current season, which I have watched so far 3 episodes of. The intro 2-parter, which was a bit of a mixed bag, but all in all considered a lot more Doctor Who than last season, which was immensely boring and sadly enough it stopped me from continuing to watch it, because as it turns out, if things are really boring, I kind of zone out. Generic, that's the big problem with it. It was generic, and Jodie Whittaker, I'm not sure if she just doesn't quite know what to do with her character yet, or if Chris Chibnall doesn't know what to give her. It's so ironic, really, because there's this famous clip of Chris Chibnall as a young lad going on and on about the fact that Doctor Who has a certain kind of generic formula that it follows. People running down cheap hallways, people being pursued by cheap-looking monsters, and some companions getting into some trouble, and the Doctor has to rescue them with one thing or another, which is every now and again a really cheap MacGuffin. And then he resorts to exactly these kind of methods. Now, don't get me wrong, there have been plenty of bad episodes in New Who so far, and there have been even double the amount of those episodes, if not triple the amount in Old Who, but then again, New Who hasn't had as many episodes or as many seasons yet under his belt to really shine or to even show what it's capable of in the long run. Because old Doctor Who, if you remember correctly, hadn't even had... Oh well, yeah, it started to have Colin Baker at the 10th season. Not Colin Baker, Tom Baker at the 10th season, so... But it had at least 2 iconic, if not 3 iconic Doctors before that, who were all met with a certain kind of negativity upon their arrival, which is sad, but it was how change is always being met with a certain kind of untrustworthiness, a bit of suspicion towards the new, because the old seemed so comfortable. The problem with the current Doctor and its incarnation as such, or her incarnation, their incarnation, I guess, whatever, is that she's lacking character. She has things going for her, and she has great character moments, but I'm still struggling to define her. She is a comfortable character, and that's good to know, because that's important for the Doctor. The Doctor needs to be someone whom you can imagine being comforted by. If you're having a bad day, let's just say your parents died, and the Doctor would come along, he or she would definitely know how to comfort you and how to give you a boost one way or the other. Maybe not as readily available to give you this boost she or he may be, but at the same time they would at least try because they care. I mean, even Peter Capaldi's Doctor, who is famous, if not infamous, for his not lack of empathy necessarily, but rather his, distance that he creates between him and other people. Or the first Doctor during the first few episodes too, they can be a bit distant, but they still would know how to comfort you, and this sort of personality of comfort, this trait of in the end still being perfectly able to trust him or her, the Doctor in essence, that is emanating from Jodie Whittaker's performance, yes, but there's nothing yet what makes her special. She has a childlike demeanour to her. I guess that's something. It's not a bad thing. It's nice. and she can be cold as all hell, but it's only such a kind of limited presentation of hers. I'm not sure if Chris Chibnall is planning something to do with her specifically once whatever overarching, season-arching secret has been revealed, the thing that the Master was alluding to. Once this is out of the bag, has been shown, and not just the Gallifrey thing, the thing about the Time Kid or whatever. Once this becomes unveiled, I would presume that we know a lot more about who she is as a person, but as of right now, she's a bit childish and happy-go-lucky, but not as outgoing as 11, not as secretly resentful of her past as 9, not as emotionally distant as 12, and it's a bit hard to really pinpoint just what she is. She has a character, but it's so hard to spot. The first 3 episodes of this season, Spyfall Part 1 and 2 and Orphan 55, have been a very mixed bag. Spyfall Part 1 was okay. Certain things were a bit odd, but in essence, is a pretty good Second Doctor episode. If for you who haven't watched Classic Who, there's the Met Bugger. Oh crap! Oh, yeah, that's the Met Bugger who isn't really undercover. I mean, he's here. That's Patrick Troughton. He's the Second Doctor, and he had a massive amount of episodes where the story was about some ginormous corporation. Actually, hold on a second, that was more like Third Doctor. So I'm actually thinking exactly of this episode. I'm thinking of The Invasion. The Invasion is a classic Doctor Who episode, classic Who episode, in which the Doctor discovers that some organization on Earth is planning something, creatures that are somewhere, and then it turns out it's the Cybermen, and there's this famous scene of them emerging from the London sewer system, right in front of St. Paul's Cathedral, and all that stuff. It's a pretty classic episode with a few episodes missing, specifically, if I read correctly off of this DVD case, is episodes 1 and 4, which have been animated. But the point is, that kind of felt like this sort of episode. It felt like a Third Doctor episode, and specifically it felt like the Second Doctor's adventure, The Invasion, because it had certain elements to it that were pretty much fitting for this kind of an episode. The problem with this is that some things just seemed really odd, like really odd. The bike chase scene, the motorbike chase scene. Guys, seriously, camera angles. You can make people feel like there's actually someone legitimately riding a bike. What you shouldn't do is film them with such a perspective that you barely see anything of the motorbike, and you might as well just put all the actors in front of a blue screen, which is then rushing by in the background, Naked Gun style. What you can do, since I think I kind of know how they did it. Like they put a motorbike on a contraption that is then clicked into a car, which is then pulling the motorbike. Like the motorbike can't fall over because that would be really irresponsibly dangerous to pull as a stunt during the filming of a television show such as Doctor Who. It's not a show that is known for its overly dangerous stunts. That's just not it. But it's okay to work with these contraptions because you have, like, I'm pretty sure you don't need to have the entire motorbike entrapped in this contraption. You only need to have a part of it, and you can still film it creatively to suggest that the road behind them is swirling by in real time, and you can use certain camera poses to work this shit out. But it didn't really work that way. When I was watching the episode, it looked as though they were obviously not driving themselves, and somebody else was driving for them, which kind of robs the whole scene of its illusion. It won't rob the illusion of any younger viewers, like specifically younger, I mean like at least 15 years younger than me, so basically like, also I'm 24, that means like if they're 9 or like under the age of 10, let's just say under the age of 10, then you can assume they will still be entranced by this, they will still like it, because it's not that big a deal really. Fake special effects and really awkward effect framing is okay for those who are younger, but anybody who knows even the slightest bit about perception and, well, filmmaking will obviously spot this really fake-looking chase scene. There was also the reveal of the Master, which was a bit odd, if not uncharacteristically is the wrong word. Unintentionally. It's unintentionally funny because it's sort of like the Master is disguised as a secret agent from MI6, a former secret agent from MI6 who went to Australia to live in exile, if I remember correctly. And there's a scene where he's chasing after a plane. Basically, the plane is about to lift off, and he's the slowest of the bunch. Like, the Doctor has to hold him into the plane. And it's a really close thing, too. And she's like, oh, wait, hold a second. Well, weren't you the bloke whose record said that you were always the best at sprinting during your MI6 years? To which he responds with, well, Doctor, you found out my crazy secret. I am the Master. I mean, honestly, that's the kind of shit that gives you away. Nothing, like, legitimately exposing you. That wasn't exposing you. That's just basically, you could have definitely found some sort of way of talking you out of this. That's not that hard to do. Just be like, yeah, I was. But as it turns out, I've been in exile for a few years now, and I haven't, for the life of me, trained or even run in years. I've just become lazy. That's like one of the many things you could have said instead of revealing your secret identity, because you couldn't run as fast as your profile said, a profile which hasn't been keeping up with you for the last few years. Anything else that could have revealed the Master would have been a better reveal, because this is fucking stupid. Come on, shit, no. This is really dumb. Why on earth would you reveal it with him being a slow runner as opposed to what his old-ass profile says about him? I don't know. He could have mentioned something about Time Lord technology or something very obscure that only the Doctor would have known. And then she would have been like, wait, hold a minute. That's not right. But instead you went with this stupid shit. And there's also the plane thing in general, which is a bit odd, that a billionaire would fly himself, anyone else aboard, no security, no nothing. And also, as the second part of the episode unwinds, and as we find out that the Doctor has once again doctored to time to play out in the favour of her companions, goddamn fucking pronouns, of her companions, it turns out that she manipulated the building of the plane, the very process in which it was built, by installing some plaques on it, by putting some manuals on there, and by manipulating the computer. Now here's the question. Whose plane is this again? Oh yeah, the multi-billionaire IT biz-whiz kid, who, if I remember correctly, was also part of MI6-ish thing, something or another, and it's his fucking plane. He never inspected his own fucking plane. He never felt the urge, or never had anybody else inspect the plane and was like, huh, what's that? A plaque that says Ryan on it. Who the fuck is this Ryan character? And these aren't security protocol leaflets either. I should probably tell my boss about this. Like, was this plane built legitimately just 5 minutes before it was about to lift off? Was that it? I don't quite understand. This should have been noticed by someone. If the Doctor had somehow orchestrated this and, I don't know, installed a micro chameleon chip or some horseshit like this on the plane, it would have made more sense. Like, it distracts, or like, I don't know, that field from The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which doesn't turn shit invisible, it just makes you see it, but completely ignore it because it's a problem of it's other people's problem. It doesn't concern you. That's why you just kind of ignore it. But this seems a bit weird. I mean, it's Doctor Who weird, but it's still weird. And it was a nice episode, and yet at the end of the day, it was still a nice episode. It was contrived to a degree, but I could kind of go with it. Orphan 55, on the other hand, that's that's a different story. It felt rushed, it felt a bit unfocused and idiotic at times. It felt like classic Who at its worst. And you might now say, there are quite a few people who might now say, yeah, well, classic Who are different, whatever. No, fuck off. Doctor Who has always had a problem with contrived stories. My favourite science fiction show isn't Doctor Who. It's not entirely Doctor Who, because so much of Doctor Who contains so many plot holes and so many contrived ideas that aren't properly executed and that just seem to linger on in the space of, wait, what the fuck is going on, Ari? Like, for example, we have a planet filled with apex predators, and we need to get out there and get someone. Who shall we send? I know. A few civilists? Yeah, civilists. Basically, people who have no combat training whatsoever. Some random old lady, the actual combat people who might be useful, and a technician and his son. That doesn't sound like a rescue team, that sounds like target practice, or rather a free meal for the apex predator. Listen, Chibnall, I have no clue what you were trying to do with this story. I mean, the end moral is okay. I'm always for an environmentally friendly message, but at the same fucking time, Jesus Christ, this is dumb. They were just being picked up one after another, and for dumb reasons, mind you. The premise was good, because it kinda, I thought there was going to be like a big change, not a big change, like a big surprise, a big twist in there, where it turns out that actually none of these creatures are real, and someone else is doing all this for some nebulous purpose. It could have still turned out that this is Earth and it was destroyed and whatever the fuck, but the nebulous purpose, like you have like sort of a thing where these vacation goers are then taken hostage and are being used as an organ farming, intergalactic organ farming and black market distributor or something like this. That's just on the top of my head, and that's a bit too dark for Doctor Who, I get that. But at the same time, it would have been a bit better than this shit. Because, once again, I have to repeat myself, but it feels as if Chibnall didn't know what to do with this episode, with this whole premise. It just kinda did things. And it did things really stupidly so. And as opposed to the last episode, Jodie didn't get to shine this time. Like in the last episode, in Spyfall Part 2, she had this brilliantly dark moment, two actually. First, where she left the Master with the Nazis, and basically potentially left him to get executed. He didn't get executed, but he could have fucking died, like just a few seconds later, like, right after she left. But he didn't. And then she left him to die, presumably, in the middle of butt-fuck nowhere, in what can only be described as a cosmic horror scenario right out of the mind of H.P. Lovecraft. That is dark, and the way she did it is not like 10th Doctor style, where he looks on with his grim face, and then he dumps the family of blood into an exploding star or some shit, which is also dark. But she did it with such a casual demeanor that I really felt genuinely somewhat frightening. And for the Doctor to feel frightening, you know that you must have done something wrong. If the Doctor feels like a genuine threat for you, as the person who hasn't done shit. Yeah, this episode she kind of was just there. And there wasn't really a solution at the end for any of the problems. Just a moral lesson, which once again I'm okay with that, but it's a bit odd that we kind of just go with, yeah, well, the planet was overrun by those creatures and that's the end of the story. Don't pollute, give a hoot. I can only hope that the Tesla episode, the Nicholas Tesla episode that is about to come out, is going to be a bit better. And I really, Chris, I know you're not going to watch this, but I'm not trying to be like one of those nerds that live in their parents' basement, because first of all, this room is part of a flat I'm sharing with a flatmate. I'm paying for this by myself, so yeah, I have a job, I got shit to do. So I'm not dwelling in a basement. I'm still a nerd, and I might be pathetic on certain levels, but not that much. Anyhow, Chris, come on, you don't need to imitate those who came before you, but what you need to do is to figure out what made all the good Doctor Who episodes good, and then try your best to give the right directions to Jodie, because she's given probably her all, but she can't really do anything if she's not giving a direction. That's what you, as the showrunner, as presumably also quite often the director, are supposed to do. You're supposed to inject her with some inspiration. You're supposed to give her that certain kind of spark, and you have a chance to do something very special, because now that we have a female Doctor, you can kind of show that it wouldn't matter whether or not male or female, but you still need to do that shit right. And as of right now, you're just boring the living crap out of most people. That's a big of a problem, because that's fucking Doctor Who, and Doctor Who isn't supposed to be boring. As of right now, you're pulling a Star Trek The Next Generation Season 1 and 2, minus the racism of that one specific episode. Please, Chris, I beg of you, you know, presumably, how to do better. If I remember correctly, you wrote a pretty good episode that was called 42, which to my surprise and disappointment had nothing to do with The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, but was still a fucking good episode. You know how to be suspenseful if you want to, but you just need to give a shit. And as of right now, even if you do give a shit, it seems like you're playing it safe. And that's the worst thing you can do in... oh god, fucking damn it. I'm getting emotional, and at this very moment, my inner script is kind of breaking apart. That's the worst thing you can do in this day and age, because that's what every fucking body does. Marvel is keeping it fucking safe, relatively speaking. They kind of did something like a risk, but then they didn't, because they brought everybody back. And what else is keeping it safe? Quite a few television shows, YouTube is keeping it safe. Do you want to be YouTube, Chris Chibnall? Do you want to be just one really oddly sexist and also oddly homophobically safe place like YouTube? Do you want that, Chris Chibnall? No, you don't want that. You don't want to have another nerd talking about you like you were talking as a nerd way back when about this show, which quite a few people still associate with being a nerd show. And goddammit, I'm losing my focus here. The point that I'm trying to make is, do that shit. Come on, Chris. You can do it. We all know you can do it. And that's basically all I need to say. You don't need to just imitate this. That's just brilliant. But I can also like yours. If you give a shit. And this is not that big a problem, Chris. Come on, Chris. Chris, yeah, no, I trust you, boy. I really do. Come on. You seem to have the right idea. Look, you kind of imitated this and gave it an update with a legitimately scary threat and a legitimately good commentary on abuse of social media. Now, show us who's boss and show us who can actually get a good message across, but at the same time being entertaining. You can do it.